There's a lot of talk about this in the context of COVID and misinformation. Spotify has made its decision. Neil Young, as we were telling you earlier this week, delivered an ultimatum to the streaming service. Choose between his music or choose Joe Rogan's podcast. Joe Rogan, the most listened to podcast on the service, has been accused of disseminating misinformation about COVID. And John Northcott, Neil Young, as he's done so many times before, took a stand, and Spotify made its choice.
Absolutely. Spotify putting it effectively ball back into Young's court by saying they are sorry to see him go and they hope to have him come back soon. But implicit in that is the argument that they're not going to do anything vis-a-vis the access that Joe Rogan has to their customers, a situation where they've invested $100 million in him. And we can tell you that we're getting reaction just not long ago from Neil Young himself to all of this. A thank you note that he's putting out to his record company and his management and everybody else who's saying that what he's doing is right, and he's saying thanks for standing by me, effectively saying this and recognizing this is going to cost him a lot of money. Losing 60% of worldwide streaming income by leaving Spotify is a very big deal, a costly move, but worth it for our integrity and our beliefs. Misinformation about COVID is over the line. Music is our life. It is sacred. It lives in young minds and souls. Do not let Spotify contaminate those young music lover spirits with misinformation that could cause death. Neil Young's very serious about this. He has taken up various political causes over the decades, really from when his star rose in his early 20s. He has been plugged in to the zeitgeist in terms of taking and making statements. This is a situation, though, for him is very personal. He had polio as a child. A whole generation has grown up, of course, not knowing the fear and the potential death and disability that can result from having had polio. He has a pretty good sense of that, and that may be part of the reason that he is doing what he is doing now and coming out and saying what he is saying. Let's listen to an observer, a journalist who studies culture, about what all this means, especially in terms of Spotify and what responsibility they might have.
It puts Spotify in a real bind. Joe Rogan was incredibly expensive to lure to the platform. And then on top of that, he is one of the most listened to pieces of content on it. So now we're seeing the type of numbers on podcasts that rival, mainstream TV shows. And with that comes responsibility.
We've certainly seen the pressure on various social media outlets in terms of at least keeping an eye on what their users put out there. This is a situation where Spotify is paying for this content and paying a lot. And for now, they're standing with Joe Rogan. Heather?
Looking at the bigger picture, John, because this really speaks to that, a growing issue for artists and for the platforms that host them.
Yeah, not just the platforms, but of course also around even the venues. And worth noting, Neil Young has not had a concert for 2 years because he says he does not want them to turn into super spreader events. Other artists, of course, have had concerts. Other artists have spoken out. We've seen perhaps more remarkably someone like Eric Clapton, who has, over the course of his career, courted some controversy, but still has also stood up for a number of causes. He has spoken out against COVID restrictions in the UK and around vaccines, etc. As well, we've seen, and we're seeing this most recently in the form of a song, Kid Rock, coming out and attacking not only U.S. President Joe Biden, well, he's a bit of a Trump supporter, so you might see that, but going after Dr. Anthony Fauci as well, using profanity-laden language to talk about him and talk about the restrictions on freedoms there. And Van Morrison spoken out against restrictions as well. And not too long ago, in fact, there was a lawsuit launched by the Irish health minister going after Van Morrison for defamation for the attacks that Van Morrison has launched against authorities there. Heather?
John, thank you very much.